Alors, s'il vous plaît, order please. Madame la Secrétaire.
Merci. For the record, we would like to announce that Kikik Telecom Corporation and Susan Lehman will not be appearing at the hearing. We'll now start with the presentation of Mr. Ryan Adams. You may begin. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good day. Sorry, Mr. Adams. Before you get started, I noticed that you have added with your presentation a lot of documents, and as you know, I appreciate you might not be familiar with the rules of procedure that we use, but normally, out of fairness, let's say that, we don't add documents at the last minute. We try to do that ahead of time. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to explain why these documents, you were unable to put them forward on the record earlier, so that those contrary to interest would have seen them sooner in the process. And perhaps you could give us an explanation for that at this point.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman. I was about to ask permission from the hearing secretary to introduce new evidence in the form of the booklet to include the electronic links that I have detailed within said document. The reasoning for this is new evidence that is directly relevant to my video and to my speech that I will detail before the Commission for the review of CRTC 2015-134.
Sure. How is it new? Did it only arise after our intervention periods?
Overall, it did. Some of the information, the nodes detailed inside there, were only recently discovered as part of CRTC case ID 722-533 and CRTC case ID 728-559. 722-533 was submitted on 16 October 15, and CRTC case ID 728-559 was submitted on 21 December 15.
Okay. And you weren't able to, in your view, address this sooner than this morning?
No, sooner than this morning. I discussed this yesterday with the hearing secretary when I submitted my documents.
Understood. Okay, so go ahead, but we'll take it under advisement. The panel hasn't ruled on whether you'll be able to include this or not, but we'll deem it to be part of the record for now, and then we'll rule on it later on. So,
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So go ahead.
Good day. My name is Ryan Adams. I'm an individual who has been made aware of many issues with broadband deployment in Eastern and Northern Ontario that have left some without service and others forced to pay incredibly high rates. I also allege the misuse and inappropriate spending of public funds by Bell. I would like to outline a short excerpt of the evidence I presented to the Commission related to the Bell deferral accounts broadband rollout and the alleged use of public funds to subsidize deferral obligations in communities. Deferral accounts are similar to a fund being considered by the Commission where money would be set aside to provide broadband services. The deferral accounts also detailed that broadband was to be afforded in a manner similar to a basic service objective. I prepared a short video to better represent my arguments and outline the true involvement of public funds in deferral communities. Roll the video, please. I will now describe details of the broadband rollout involving the Laurentian Valley Petawawa Broadband Initiative and Eastern Ontario Regional Network within the deferral communities of Petawawa and Pembroke. The LVP-BI and later EORN provided DSL fiber to the node to deferral DSAs. The deferral accounts funded cellular towers were constructed as represented by the circles leveraging the grant-funded backbone already provided. However, it should also be noted that the communities were already partially or wholly served by broadband, which may have exempted the DSAs from the deferral accounts rollout. This set of circumstances involving grant funds in deferral communities allow Bell to allocate its deferral-funded cellular towers to more profitable use. Mobile use of Bell's dual-use network is obvious, but I believe the leverage circles point to an additional use. As indicated by the dotted blue lines, there are hundreds of residences who have not been afforded wireline internet through grant funds, Bell deferral funds, or Bell corporate funds, yet are served by the deferral-funded towers indicated. I will note said residences are served at the highest rates of any broadband offering. An example of the rates afforded to the grant-funded fiber-to-the-node residences would be $64 monthly for 125 gigabytes of data. For a near exacting service and bandwidth cap, a residence within a deferral DSA afforded service with wireless would pay $164. It is those that are afforded service with deferral towers but are not in deferral DSAs that are forced to the most disadvantageous plan. The cost for 125 gigabytes of data will be an eye-popping $1,140 monthly. Said subscribers pay the highest rates for broadband despite being served by Bell deferral-funded towers. In some cases, residents are separated by less than a few hundred meters of boundaries. The present circumstances serve to ensure maximum profitability for the Bell Corporation due to the Bell deferral accounts rollout. To be clear, the set of circumstances I've outlined is a direct result of a Commission decision to authorize a wireless rollout, in addition to the inappropriate use of public taxpayer dollars within deferral DSAs. My allegations are simple and clear. Bell has used grant funds to provide broadband to deferral communities, contrary to the rulings and decisions of the Commission. The company further leveraged the decision in CRTC 210-805 to not only misuse grant funds, but apply punitive pricing through the overlapping boundaries of wireless. Bell's actions are highly prejudiced towards both deferral and non-deferral communities. The solution to this disadvantageous practice, as per my written submission, is not to allow the selective implementation of the most expensive technologies and price gouging to communities as part of a basic service objective. This statement includes the consideration that many incumbent companies often service a community with landline voice or television and a preference towards less regulated wireless internet. To conclude my presentation, there are many similarities between the deferral accounts broadband rollout and a proposed commission-managed fund to subsidize broadband. There are also many lessons to be learned from the past rollout. I'm strongly supportive of the concept of a CRTC-managed fund that would provide broadband in my community, in addition to a basic service objective. In closing, I would like to thank the Commission for its time and consideration of my presentation and welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Menzies will ask you some questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
What do you use the internet for?
My wife uses the internet for work. She is a pharmacist who provides remote telepharmacy through the internet to communities that are typically not serviced by the by pharmacists. Remote communities, Hearst, Cochrane, there's a few others.
That doesn't sound, on the face of it, as something that would require intense speeds, is it? Or
it connects using a VPN and not the typical VPN that's often referred to by Netflix and all that. Overall, the bandwidth usage is what's important. Average 2 to 5 gigabytes per day.
Okay. So that's 125, 150 a month? Well, working days it's less, right? Okay.
I will note my costs here. I have an average of a 5-year cost at $276.29 monthly. Over 5 years, we've paid $16,577 for internet. I will note that this is for a typical 5-1 wireless service.
Right, and if you're operating business, that's...
What's that?
That's part of the business cost, right?
Overall, it's, yes, I guess you could call it as part of a business cost, yes. The internet is used both for home and business usage. However, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a heavy user in the sense of things like video streaming and all that.
No, but your spouse is running a business out of the house, right?
What's that?
Your spouse is running a business out of the house?
No, she works for a company.
Oh, I see. She's an employee working from home.
Yes.
Okay, I understand. So, notwithstanding your concerns regarding Bell, help me understand the situation in Pembroke, because when I looked up their website, it describes Pembroke in a much different way than you describe it. It describes it as Pembroke is a smart community with fully redundant fiber optic ring around the city with frame relay services and a synchronous transfer made over Sonnet ring. Several telcos offer business services and solutions, ... We also have ISPs that supply high speed. It then lists 5 telcos: Bell, Ottawa River, Cogeco, NRTC, and Vianet. So that seems inconsistent with the difficulties you've outlined. So help me understand why these options that are advertised by the City of Pembroke's website aren't available to you.
Okay, I will emphasize my location is inside some of those blue circles. That will emphasize. However, my location is 6 kilometers from a fiber-to-the-home deployment from NRTC. I will emphasize I am 10 kilometers from Garrison Petawawa. Overall, a very large gathering of people.
Right.
However, I've outlined certain issues with regards to how grant funds have entered into that community. I would argue, based on my assessment, did grant funds get pushed into the wrong DSAs? I've provided you in my reference package 6 notes.
Certainly, I understand your issue there, I guess, with this process here, and I'm not attempting to diminish that issue at all. But in our process here, we're trying to determine basic needs and affordability and that on a broader scale. So I'm just trying to use a little bit of 360 view on things.
Okay.
So I'm trying to understand where your situation fits into the community of Pembroke and communities like it and where they're served. So do you have only one option for service?
Actually, I have 2. Bell Wireless through what is in effect a Turbo Hub, or ExploreNet. ExploreNet.
So none of these others are available, the Ottawa River, Cogeco, NRTC?
No, they are not, and ExploreNet is not due to the latency. ExploreNet satellite, it is not ExploreNet wireless. Due to the latency, makes it unsuitable for VPN use. The latency, I've had it at home. I had it for 1 year. It has latency of over approximately 1,000 milliseconds. So the back and forth time makes it unsuitable.
Okay. And the rates Bell charges you are as you've described?
The rates that Bell charges me is what?
As you've described?
Yes. I have described $276 monthly over 5 years.
Okay. How would you have us fix that?
How would I have you fix that? I'll note that the chairman at the beginning has, I'd like to read out to one of his quotes, a short excerpt of it, with permission, to reemphasize this. The CRTC therefore issues the following challenge to parties. Demonstrate to us, using evidence, that the public interest and specific situation in each region justify action by the CRTC. Explain to us why market forces are currently insufficient to respond to the public needs. Well, using evidence, I've described a set of circumstances that is existing as regard to a previous rollout. I will emphasize the Bell Deferral Accounts Fund should be looked at very closely, not just as part of the overall examination of my allegations, but as part of the consideration that the Bell Deferral Accounts Fund provided for a basic service objective. In addition, a fund was set aside to provide broadband services. Now, in CRTC 2015-134, as part of the review of the basic service objective, you stated that the Commission has never done this. As per my written submission, I've outlined, as part of the Bell Deferral Accounts rollout in Ontario and Quebec, service in that manner was afforded to over 69,000 residences.
Right. So you've made your point clear on that. So you are in favor, I take it, of having internet designated as a basic telecommunications service, and that at an affordable rate. So just to focus on that, because that's the main point of our being here, what would you think would be an acceptable rate for the service that you need?
Comparable to urban rates. I've outlined, using evidence.
Okay. So the $64 rate that you referred to?
Yes. However, I've noted that the current plans, the Bell Wireless 5, as part of the Bell deferral rollouts, comparable to DSL, is $100 more monthly.
Okay. No, I understood that. You're very clear on that. Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Have you been living in the area for a long time?
5 years in the same household.
Okay, and did you move there before or after the rollout of the deferral account build-outs or the EORN investments?
In January 2011. So I got to observe aspects of the rollout as they were being constructed. Obviously, there was construction all around my DSA and my neighborhood, but obviously grant funds never entered my DSA or my neighborhood.
Right. We heard evidence earlier in the hearing about how access to broadband becomes an important decision point when people decide to move in, or and affects as well the value of homes if it is not accessible. So, from your perspective, when you moved to the area, were you expecting to be able to get
Absolutely.
broadband?
I noted that then there was the LVPBI, which I detailed. There was also previously the rural connections, which was, I'd say, slightly before decisions in CRTC 210-805 and 210-637. However, I don't necessarily note I didn't fully understand the whole process at the time. I've only conducted research on Ontario Bell deferral communities. And I've chosen to focus on that specifically as part of my submission.
Right. Is it you're probably not intending to move out of the area, but do you feel that the absence of access to broadband is affecting the desirability of others to move in the area?
Absolutely. As to the effect on the housing prices, I will note that I will note the aspect of people often, they shy away from the fact is when they're purchasing a house, they look at the internet cost. They have to look at every cost. So educated people do that. I did look at that before. However, I expected the natural progression of not only market forces, in addition with conjunction with government funds, to eventually. I'm so close to where the service is, but nobody seems to have an interest in serving my household or my neighbors. Yeah. I will note that either side of my house, I can look at neighbors across the street. There are others affected.
Right. So it's not a high-density area, but it's not, by the same token, a very low-density area.
No, it is not. And I am very close to Highway 17. I can walk there within a kilometer. You know, this is not a northern community. This is not, and I understand the challenges of putting service. This is a community close to a built-up area that countless funds have went into, yet here I still am.
Right. You're obviously frustrated, but then again, you prepared very well. You know numbers of our decisions and files better than I do, so congratulations for your preparation, and that's commendable. So your participation is very important. We're happy to have given you the opportunity to share a perspective on this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't think we have any other questions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Madame la Secrétaire.